Oh, sorry. I love our new intro video. Like things are stepping up here, but I don't know. Like, it's like, am I more just kind of like what the fuck am I looking at with Johnny's uh, bulgerific, uh, bulgelicious pink underwear shot, and then fucking Alex is like all muscular as hell. Dan looks like a fucking badass. Yeah, I love it, but I was laughing the whole time. Not that it's like highly comical. I just like, wow, we actually have stepped up in the world. We look like a real YouTube channel, guys.
Only took us this long.
Getting there.
But I dig it. And so if you're new to the Reality After Show, or if you're a listener all the time, this week, as in most weeks of Survivor seasons, Johnny is at a viewing party. He is with King George tonight in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He's got one party left, which is next week. Johnny Fairplay will be in Los Angeles, California at Jax Taylor's bar. What's this bar called again? I'm drawing a blank. Just Jax's, right? Studio
I think
City.
it's Jax's bar.
Yeah, just Jax.
That's what I always refer to it as.
So I think Jax will be there. So if you're a fan of Vanderpump Rules or just Survivor in general, I imagine Sugar and Abby Maria and a bunch of great friends of ours will be there. But tonight, Alex, Dan, and myself are breaking down what Johnny Fairplay's favorite word is every year, and that's the penultimate episode of Survivor. And I feel kind of like in a weird spot because like I've shit on certain things early on season 46 with the whole Banu stuff. And we have said Banu's great TV, but now we're finally, we're able to see other people play the game. But I was telling my wife tonight as tribal council's happening, I'm like, I'm really actually starting to like this season. And I'm actually I was like, I kind of am starting to like Liz. I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth, but I've been entertained by her ever since her fucking meltdown she did about Applebee's. It's just there's something about her that I find entertaining. And I don't know, like, what is your overall, Dan, let's start with you first because you weren't here with us last week. Are you enjoying season 46 at this, almost closure to the game?
I am. I think it's gotten a lot better, especially since we got past the Banu. I mean, we've talked about it 1,000 times. It was great while it was happening, like the first episode or two, but we had 1 or 2 episodes of too much Banu in it. But since then, I feel like it's been a really solid season. And sure, there may be some people out there that don't like it, but I've always said I love the characters, and sometimes the best seasons don't have good gameplay. And guess what? We're not getting good gameplay this season, but it's making it so much more entertaining. So I'm really enjoying the season.
And we have another, expert here in this 3-person Survivor expert panel. Alex, you have always been positive whenever Johnny and I have been shitting on like new era things. You've been a big proponent of, you're a younger generation compared to Johnny. Johnny and I are 50 years old, right? So you guys are obviously younger than us. So you have a different perspective of these kind of newer school gameplays. What is your opinion on it?
So let me preface this because it's sort of been my thing I've been trying to say for seasons now.
Yes.
I love and I appreciate everything about Survivor in the first 40 seasons. Mm-hmm. I've been able to I'm not even going to attempt the word. It's too late for it. But I try to separate what Survivor was to what it is now. The new era, I've always been able to just look at it through. It's not the same game. The skeleton's the same, but the components are different.
Yeah.
So I try to view the players. I view the gameplay differently. Mm-hmm. And 46, I've been thoroughly entertained. Yeah. I originally came into this show like being a person who's all about strategy, all about that all the time. But you know what? Sometimes you need a season where it's so character driven. And it's like what you said about Liz. Liz is fun because they suddenly decided to give her an edit. And when they've given her an edit, she says goofy shit. and it's funny. And I'm okay. I can now see me meeting Liz and being like, okay, now I can start to understand why they looked past like the allergies of it all and put her on the show. Because she's a little bit of a Looney Tune, but I'd say that in like a good way. Like that's the type of person you would want on the show, personality wise. And so I've enjoyed this season. I enjoyed the good and the bad gameplay of it all. The bad gameplay of all these people who should have a little more awareness of, even if you think you're safe, just play the idol. I'm happy with it because you know what? We have been begging, all those people on the Facebook pages have been putting their fists in the air saying we need a back to basics season. And season 46 said bet.
Yes.
All the idols and not play them. We are going to play this game how it was always intended.
Well, so speaking of idols, because that's been a really big thing, and I was also discussing that with my wife, and it's like, it's crazy because we had, Jem had an idol, Hunter had an idol, Tiff had an idol, Venus had an idol, Q has an idol. No one has played it. So, like, the thing is, I'm fine with that in one aspect, but the other is when an idol is played, or like when we saw Godfather Carl play the idol nullifier, sometimes it creates these moments that are so jaw-dropping and dramatic. Tribal Council, I feel like we are losing I wish like at least one time someone would have played an idol. Although it is funny, like when Francesca got voted out first twice, it's like, okay, I get why that's a thing. And this could be season 46 where no one played an idol. Because I don't at this point, is there any more idols in play? Or
there always is the potential that they put one last one out there, since the rules of their seasons they're effective till final 5. So, it's similar to, like, I'm going to do one of my references, Matt.
Yeah.
The finale of Millennials versus Gen X, they did have another idol come out for the final round for it to be playable at the final round. So it's always possible they're out there, but maybe it doesn't get found. We all know how the finale will start. The finale will start with them being given tree mail that says, here's a word search. Complete the word search and go get the challenge advantage for final 5. But there's probably going to be an idol out there too. What I do appreciate about it, though, is I hope that the players that are going out now for the next 2 seasons that are being filmed use this as an understanding of, be less concerned about playing the idol right, which you should still want to play an idol correctly.
Yeah.
However, it's better to play it incorrectly than go home, because it's not even like you get to go home with it anymore. They take it from you. They take that lanyard back. They don't have the budget to have multiple lanyards. They have to keep the same one.
Well, it's also not like a really cool or in-depth idol anymore. It's just been like a few thing of beads. But here you go, Matt. You said you wanted the wow factor of it all, but you were able to appreciate when Francesca went home first twice because it was funny. So here's your stat to maybe make it a little bit funnier for you. 5 people have had idols. Only one person has stood up to play an idol this entire season, and that was Jess, who did not have an idol. So the only person that's tried to play an idol this entire season was someone who didn't actually.
So technically, there's been 6 idols and a fake this season, because Randon, I guess Randon never got to the idol. He had the clue for it, but I count it. So I'm like, that's 1 and 5 others, and 5 people went home with an idol in their pocket, thinking it wasn't going to be them. And the only person truly who maybe should have felt that way was Jem, and that was because it was in the pre-merge. Like, every single other person had justifiable reasons to play it, and even if they played incorrectly, us as an audience and other players, I think, would understand why they played it.
Well, if I'm someone who's going through casting and I'm a Survivor fan, right, and I see this, and I'm out there for season 47 or 48, there is no way in hell I am not playing an idol. Because I'm like, most people I would think would be yelling at the TV, like, play your idol, you dumbasses. Play it. How do you not see it? And tonight, I blame Maria for Q not playing his idol. she tells Q that you're fine. It's Charlie. And it's like she made Q feel comfortable. So I blame because Maria's saying this whole episode, Charlie's my number one, Q is my number two. Am I ready to vote out my number one and keep my number two? Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't even protect her number two. I just think it's a catastrophic mistake on her.
It's a big mistake on her part. But I want to give, instead of bringing Maria down, which she deserves to be brought down.
Yes.
Boy, I will get into it as this episode goes along.
Yeah.
But I want to give the credit to Kenzie and Liz, who were able to play both sides into fully buying in that they were with them. Yeah. And more particularly Liz, because up until this point, obviously we know her feelings about Q. We've only seen her and Q argue on the show. I think we were remiss from a secret scene that was revealed after last week of Liz and Q having a discussion, not about the game, but understanding themselves as people and the similarities they have as people. Because I think that conversation, among others that we don't get to see because we only have 90 minutes, is why Q ultimately feels more secure with having Liz as a number.
Gotcha.
Moving into this vote. So I want to really give the social credit to Liz and Kenzie, who have wanted Q out for rounds, but still allowed him to feel so comfortable that they were willing to crawl back to him and allow him to make that step further. Because it's that, and the theme of this season is overconfidence leading to your demise.
Yeah.
All these people who are just confident enough are trying to overread a situation where they're like, but if I can hold on to this idol one more round, then I'm 2 steps further. And then they go home because they just were too confident.
And this is the beauty of Survivor. The reason that I think Survivor is on the air this, season 46, and I tell people, or if I meet people, they're like, Survivor's still, I can't believe it's still on. And it's like, the reason it's still on is because time and time again, every season is different. And every player is different. Sometimes we have great players, great strategic players. This season, not so much. I think we did have potential in Venus and other players to really have some strategic mastermind kind of people. But it just, I feel that it's really cool that, like I said, this is a social experiment. Whether you like the way Probst has kind of butted his head into this executive producer role and done a bunch of stupid decision making, Survivor still is on the air because of its unpredictability. And I would not have predicted that no idols would have been played this season. But let's start out with the beginning. Venus is gone, idol in her pocket, or giving it back to production or whatever they do. Yep. And Q says a confessional where he's like, cancel Christmas, girl, or something like that. Q is funny. I love Q.
No, he said, you can see Venus from Earth, but we don't see her at this camp.
Do you guys like Q?
Oh, I love Q. I love that he's a bit of a carny, and I love that about him because it's like you need to have those characters, and you can't say this season didn't have characters, which is something we've been like praying for since this new era started. Was like, just give us a bunch of people that are just huge personalities. And he delivered.
I've enjoyed him a lot more since he kind of got knocked off his throne where he thought he was playing this great strategic game. Because ever since then, the past 4 or 5 episodes where he's kind of just been holding on for dear life, we've seen a lot more of his personality. More fun sides are coming out. More quotes and comments that we weren't getting in the beginning part of the season. So I think, ironically, when he lost control of his game, we've seen the more authentic version of Q, which has been vastly more entertaining than he was maybe in the first few episodes.
I agree. And I also agree that when you give these people a chance to show who they are in the edit, as Alex said, you're going to see someone like Liz. I even saw some footage of Ben tonight where I'm like, damn, Ben's actually making some, having some confessionals and gameplay that I'm like, kind of caught me off guard. I thought Ben was just a Van Halen quoting metalhead guy.
I mean, he is.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like when we talk about these characters, when season 46 is all said and done, I'm not going to look back at it as, oh my God, it was a strategically badass season. However, I'm going to know, oh yeah, Maria and Charlie were like the Malcolm and Denise and Q and Kenzie. Oh yeah. Like when I always laugh that Alex is talking about, oh yes, Matt, and Millennials versus Gen X, 5 minutes into episode 3, I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're fucking talking about.
That's not me.
Here you go, Matt. It's a Gabon season. A lot of people love Gabon not because it was strategic mastermind going on across the board, but it was messy and you just never knew what was going to happen next. Like all the people that you thought were going to be your favorites in the beginning of the season, all gone, and we're just left with what's left, which is just some goofy characters.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten so accustomed, especially in the age of podcasting, about these shows where it's like, if a season isn't like filled with a bunch of strategic game players or people who think they are and are strategic, it's like we talk down on this season. I feel like this season was the first one that opened my eyes, especially like once you hit merge forward. I was like, you know what? I can honestly say I have sit back, turned on the TV, and not once felt bored watching the episodes. Like I've laughed, like fully laughed during these episodes, especially these last few weeks. And I can say I'm having fun watching the season. It doesn't feel like a chore that I'm watching this episode and then have to go and cover it. I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to getting to talk about these players because they're entertaining.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And one entertaining thing was when Ben basically at camp after the tribal says to Kenzie, hey, I need to talk to you. I had a brain fart. I actually wrote down your name instead of Venus's name. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you dumb ass. Like, what the hell? Have we seen that happen before?
Honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened more often.
Man, I just think
just like from the lack of food and everything, you see these people like acting kooky around camp just from lack of nutrition. That I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone went to tribal council and completely just forgot what they were supposed to do and then just wrote a name.
Yeah.
But like we know like also from social media that apparently everyone was gonna vote Venus, but Q was supposed to vote Kenzie as like this weird tie break rule. But he decided for whatever Q reasons are to not do that.
Yeah.
And that he gets saved by Ben doing it instead.
Well, speaking of that, that's what I loved is after the episode it came out, there were so many other people that are thinking about the game so strategically. You're like, no, it was smart because what if Venus does play an idol? And just to learn out that Ben just completely forgot what he was doing and where he was.
Yeah,
it's just another little character moment that makes it that much better. Be like, no, Ben didn't have any thought behind it. It was actually he had no thoughts at all.
And if anything, it was reverse, like a bad decision made by him that would have been good gameplay because everyone left that episode and you had podcasters going like, oh, well, it's because obviously the Secret 3 don't even like Kenzie and they want her gone. I'm like, no, like the edit has clearly told us for several weeks now that Kenzie and Ben are very tight. And he wouldn't want her to go. Like in a tie break, we all know Q's going home there. It's not going to be Kenzie. Like Maria votes Kenzie, but then everyone else votes Q. Like it would have backfired on them regardless. I would have actually loved to see that happen. So Venus, why didn't you play that idol? But
I know.
You know, it is what it is. But this next scene, it's a weird scene. Like there's always been like these scenes now recently where you have a scene that's about someone, but it's not about them. Like, so we have this Ben having night terrors, Ben having these like struggles lately in the late game of the season. But I feel, as much as it's supposed to be us like feeling sympathetic for Ben, I feel like this was all really just meant for Kenzie's edit. Like this is Survivor has such a difficult time or not an effort of showing a winning social game because it's, let's be real, a social game isn't entertaining TV.
Yeah.
The strategy is what's entertaining. The people being crazy is what's entertaining. Me like sitting down and talking to Matt for 2 hours about music and life, like to us will be interesting, but not to a viewer.
No. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So I feel like this was an opportunity for them to like once again sprinkle in a little Kenzie time in an episode where you feel like, why is she in this? And I think it's because, as I've been pounding on my chair all season, this is us like being shown a Kenzie winner at it, and this is them showing like how she has made all these very personal connections with so many people that are making up this jury.
Yeah.
Feeling great about my winner pick.
So Kenzie is your winner pick. I have a feeling Kenzie.
Well, I had to rotate my winner pick when mine went home with an idol in their pocket and right before the merge, but
yeah, my winner pick is gone. But yeah, Venus is out. But yeah, I mean Kenzie, I think she has a great chance because I still think that Ben doesn't have a chance. I think Maria and Charlie are now both kind of they have this agreement more or less that it's going to come down to turning on one another.
Well, here, what we can do is at the end of this episode, we'll give our finale predictions of a straight fifth through winner, because I have my prediction. I've had it in a little power ranking game for multiple weeks now, and I'm feeling pretty good about it.
You are a bot. This is why you're. I mean, who's more of an expert, you or Dan?
Dan.
Okay.
Dan actually remembers things, whereas I just like have things just come out of my head.
I wouldn't say that it's. I mean, I've seen all the seasons. I think what helped is I work from home most of the time. Now I travel some weeks for work. For majority of the time, I work from home, and so I listen to a lot of podcasts or have TV on in the background while I'm working. And Survivor was a show for the longest time that even as I was working I would just put on Paramount Plus and just let it play through. So I never went back and was like, oh, this is, my favorite season. I'm going to sit down and go back and watch it again. But I've just seen a lot of it because I'll be working and then I'll look up and it'll be something that's interesting. And so it catches my eye for the second or third time.
Man, it's awesome.
See, that's why I'm not the expert here.
Well, that's why I love podcasting with you guys. And for the listeners at home, it's like some of us, like myself, Johnny, many other people that have actually played Survivor, that are Survivor fans, don't know squat in comparison to people like Alex and Dan. Now, do I think that if Dan, if you and Alex and me and different people were out there playing the game, would you guys be able to put your knowledge into action, or would you be blindsided like Q was tonight? Well,
I would lie. I would never say that I know the show.
Yeah.
But here you go, Matt. You want another little nugget from something from pulling it way back of former contestants not knowing what's going on? Yes. Go all the way back to All Stars, where there was a question about where Survivor Africa was, and Big Tom's tribe got the answer wrong because he didn't even know where he was in Africa.
But that's the most Big Tom thing.
It is.
I was in the square one.
Dude.
What?
I love the character of Big Tom, or like Keith Nail. God rest his soul. I loved Keith Nail. Those kind of players, when we're talking about characters of this season, it's good that we have Survivor characters. Whether they're great strategists or not, having characters on a television show is what makes a television show great. That's what makes Johnny Fairplay great. Whether you love him or you hate him, Johnny Fairplay is a character, and he is the same dude. If you watch him on TV and then you happen to meet him at one of these viewing parties, you will know what we're talking about. He's a good friend of ours, but he is a fucking trip and a character. So we learn now, day 22, Liz finally took a shit.
Oh, thank
God. Took an aqua dump after 22 days.
What even came out? What did she eat?
I don't know.
I guess it's the rice. That rice that she got to finally have.
Yeah.
Or was that licorice? It was that little bit of licorice that put it over the edge.
Got her pals. But I've never seen someone so unbelievably happy to have gone to the bathroom as Liz. And this is again where I was like, you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but Liz is entertaining me.
Oh, it was so funny. Like just hearing her being like, well, now that I finally lost 5 pounds, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, you are ready to play a Liz game. Let's see what this Liz game is.
Well, I mean, hey, at least she's trying to make moves and she's a fan. And that's one thing I like about Liz. The fact that she has this bond with her daughter, that's why she freaked out over the Applebee's thing. And being able to see Liz tonight kind of live some more of her like Survivor. I hate saying like bucket list kind of things, but I feel like for me personally, as a huge fan and like knowing what it means to play Survivor, I'm happy that Liz is kind of getting some little check marks off. And I know her daughter and family is like loving all this shit. So Charlie, Ben, and Kenzie are talking, and he's either Charlie's saying he could either stick with Maria, who's been his number one, and Q, or turn against him. And that's kind of been the whole battle of this episode. It's the Charlie having the battle. Does he make a move against Maria? And then we finally see Maria in confessionals talking about should she make a move against Charlie. Do you think that in 2024, in the new era, that a solid alliance like a Malcolm and Denise could last again, like in a game like this new era? Like, is it possible for the alliance to stand strong, or are we going to continually see what is playing out between Charlie and Maria?
I think a duo can still stay strong in this game. When I feel like, in a sense, we saw that last season with Austin and D. Like, they did what they needed to do to both get there at the end. Like the Tika 3 literally go to as far as they possibly can in the game until fire making gets in the way. Like, I do believe that loyalty can still matter, and I feel like part of being a good game player is, yes, you want to eliminate the people that you think are competitors at the end. But I also feel like you sort of need to have a little bit of that overconfidence, like a little bit of that Q energy of just being like, I could be up there against anybody. It does not matter. I believe in me. I believe in my game. And I believe I can outpitch anyone with talking my game. So, like, for me personally, I don't know if I would be someone that would be looking at the final 7 and final 6 being like, this is the time to take out my number one when there's still a full ass vote left. And like, because fire making, whatever, it's like there's a case to be made that we could still have exciting TV like in Philippines when there was a final 4 vote, and that's when Malcolm and Denise finally split apart essentially. But stop calling people Malcolm and Denise. You're not if you even have a thought of wanting to sabotage your person before it's the last round of the game, you're not Malcolm and Denise. Okay?
I think it's just as likely as it's always been. I mean, I think you're always going to have exceptions when it works out, but look at the first 40 seasons. It was rare that, a final 2 would go to the end together because they had a deal from day one. It's way more likely that, Amazon, Jenna Maraska goes on an immunity run and screws it up. Vanuatu, Chris Doherty goes on a run and screws it up. So I think it's just as likely as any other season where when it happens, it's great and it's memorable because it generally doesn't happen all the time. But I don't think it's that more uncommon than what it really ever has.
Yeah, because the last time it truly happened, I'm trying to think of, like, from returning seasons, it's like you have game changers. You have like the Sarah, Brad, Culpepper, Troy Zan, like pre-game alliance of it all, like putting their trust by giving each other their wedding bands and stuff like that, and they all end up going to the end together.
Because you can't even include Ghost Island because Dom did try to take Wendell out in fire making. Now they ended up getting there, but
yeah, no, you can't include Ghost Island. You can't include David versus Goliath. You can't count Winners at War. Like, so yeah, it's like I feel like you can go as far back as game changers, because ever since then it's been everyone just like going at each other's throats.
Yeah, the last time that it really happened, I mean, Game Changers was, like you said, it was a pre-game alliance, but maybe it was the first Blood versus Water where it was Tyson, Jervis, and Monica.
Which I would even say is pregame. You know what?
It is pregame. I mean, it's completely different because pregame, the returning seasons almost shouldn't count. It should be if you do it on an all newbie season.
Yeah. So there's your history lesson, everybody. I'm not going to try to talk more about old seasons anymore for the rest of this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Kyle Dorr, I know you're in the comments. Look, I watched your video, and I will be giving my opinions on that via social media here soon. It's just been a crazy week, so my apologies if you're listening, Kyle.
But
I watched your video, and I also have watched some other people's videos. So, like, I'm just putting it out there. If you're a fan of the show, I'm not going to charge you for casting advice. But if you DM me and you send me like a casting video, I'll watch it. And if I think it sucks, I'll tell you. And if I think it is awesome, then I'll tell you.
Matt,
because I know what they're looking for. Yeah,
Matt, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, go get yourself a beardio today. Get your dread beard skirts going, and Matt Bischoff will tell you how your videos are.
Yes.
For 17 easy payments of $19.99, Matt Bischoff will look at your video and give you the tips to get on the show.
If I could make a side hustle of charging people for critiquing, I would love that. So does he still do that? What's his name? Adam or whatever? Adam Klein?
I'm sure he does. I would like to think that he's taking a pause on that since he just got married. And I'm like, just enjoy your life for a little bit, man. Yes. But I'm sure he still does it. But
back the reward challenge time, correct?
Yeah. So let's go to the reward challenge. Race over obstacles. I love that he doesn't even explain the obstacles anymore. He's just like, we don't need that.
Yeah.
There's obstacles here. Collect the bag with a ball. Cross a ladder bridge and you gotta really fondle that bag with a ball in it through the rope, that winding long rope. And then you have to put that ball in the maze and watch that ball drop.
Yeah, and I like these challenges because they seem pretty simple. Like, neither of these challenges tonight look like difficult. Like, even Brandon or whatever his name was that couldn't climb the ladder last season. And was that last season? Or 2 seasons ago? Okay.
It was last
season.
Oh, God, they all blend together sometimes.
He seems like a great guy outside this show.
He does, but I'm always going to bust his balls with the ladder.
Climb a ladder for shit, but probably a great dude.
Yes, exactly. But this challenge, I like the table maze. I think that'd be really fun. I wish I had one of those in my backyard that we could battle.
Like a life-size model one.
Yeah.
Just to really do it. No, that would be fun.
Call Hunter.
Yeah, call Hunter up. He can make one for you. Yeah. I'm sure for no small expense. Yeah. But I love this challenge. I also love the all the obstacles in it where you can't avoid most of them. Like, you have to figure out how do you get enough speed to move it without hitting another hole and letting that ball go down. Yeah, and it was tight. It was tight between all of them. There's multiple people at one point or another that were very close to getting to the end, but we see ultimately Charlie pull it out.
I want to pause, and I don't mean to interrupt Johnny Fairplay does all the time, but what was up with Liz with her foot? She takes her foot up in the air.
I think she's just
so
goofy,
weird.
And she's just like, oh well. Let me maneuver. I can't physically visualize this. Let me pull a body part up to start. Locating it physically. And then I love that she's like, "Oh, I'm bleeding. Oh, that's interesting."
Yeah, she's a weirdo. I love it. A weirdo in a good way. If Liz, if you're listening to this, I am really starting to like you. Not so much early on, but now that they're showing your game.
I wonder if she finally has more confessionals than Banu.
Probably not. Banu's
they really spiked it up these past few weeks. She had a ton for the Applebee's episode.
Yeah, but Banu's first 4 or 5 episodes, it was confessionals on crack.
It was.
He was getting double
You're not
digits.
wrong. You're not wrong. But Charlie gets the win, probably inspired by the 22 on his hand, which some will say is because it was day 22 of Survivor. But real people know it's because it's a Taylor Swift reference.
I know nothing about Taylor Swift, so
It's just a song. It's
okay,
just a song.
Okay, cool. I figured so.
I was just really disappointed in Charlie. You know, he made the logical decision, fine. But think about, we could have had another good TV moment if Liz wasn't brought on reward. That's been her staple.
I was texting a friend of mine about it, and I was like, look, isn't it great to see someone who just rips the Band-Aid off and picks two people and doesn't make like all this like bad gameplay of like making all of them decide and taking forever? And she was like, yeah, but wouldn't it have been more funny if he did a whole spiel of people who didn't go on reward and talk about their family all the time? So my first person I'm picking is Q. And then to see Liz light everybody on fire.
Yeah, she would have too. But I like, we know that Charlie picks Kenzie. Wait, hold on. Yeah, he picks Kenzie and he picks Liz. And he picks Liz because he knows that her daughter is a huge fan. And this is like a place for her to eat Chinese food as well. So I think that's cool of Charlie. And we learned that Charlie and Maria had a pact that if they were to do a reward like this, they would not take one another. And
this is where Johnny would say, sorry for cutting you off, how him and Burden also had a pact for the longest time, I believe, on Pearl Islands to like not take each other on rewards until they did. And then Burden goes home that episode. Yeah. But it's like on paper, if someone's your number one, like the smart thing is to never take each other on reward, because then you have the perspectives of both areas. Like you should have enough trust in each other to not go against each other.
Yeah,
but it's like so ironic that it's also the episode where both of them are now like dead set on, nope, it's time to cut our number one.
Yeah.
As we learned in season 46, the biggest resume move you can have in the game is cutting your number one and blindsiding them. So it's time. And I truly want to know from Maria at some point, how much of a factor is it that she didn't get to see the letters from her 3 kids that ultimately lets her go, yeah, we should probably take out Charlie. When also she was considering Liz. Originally, she's like, Liz is the next threat to take out.
Yeah.
And then it's Q going like, oh no, it should be Charlie. And I'm like, in a world where he does pick Maria and brings Maria on the reward, does she ever actually have the stones to continue going on with, yeah, we should do the move on Charlie?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Charlie's decision making here is like, it doesn't seem like Q is very upset that he's not getting picked. Maria is obviously visibly upset. And then what is it, Ben? He doesn't really seem to
I think
care.
Ben's too tired to have emotions.
No, I will say
high on pizza. It's all right.
Oh, he is high on pizza. But
he's
I will
drunk
say
on pizza.
The not having the family visit, the actual family visit. I mean, how many seasons has it been now that we've missed out on?
The whole new
6.
era.
Yeah. Are they going to bring it back? Because I
feel
love the family visits.
So, as we see, Survivor, or more importantly, CBS is like, no, y'all are balling on a budget right now, and with less days, are we really gonna do the expense and all the hassle of bringing all the families out here for them? Nah, they can just have letters. That's cheaper.
I could see him do it on a returning season, but I don't think we'll see it on a newbie season, at least for a while.
I find it lame because I know on Australian Survivor, you have
they bring the whole families.
Yeah, to come out and watch the final challenges.
I also think it sort of fits though for less days. Like less days, get a letter. Like I understand the appeal of having a loved one there, but I also feel like if you want to have loved ones, you need to up the days, because I think 26 days, it makes sense for a letter to help like refuel the fire. I don't feel like, I don't know. I feel a little less of like, oh, I haven't seen my family in 3 weeks, and now I get to see one of them with 2 days left in the game.
Yeah, moral of the story is bring it back to 39 days.
Yeah,
That-
like
that
whatever.
would be
With,
ideal.
because like with Australian Survivor, like there's still 40 plus days, so I feel like it hits harder getting to the end and then getting the families all coming in. And it's also less of an expense for them, I think, to pull 3 families over than however many people they would bring for US.
Yeah.
Because if you're just thinking of travel for going to Fiji for how long it takes, you figure you're not only for here, say you're doing it at this spot, that it's 6 people are left in the game. So you need to bring over a loved one for that. But because there's less days and we're moving so quickly, it's probably 1 or 2 extra. We're looking at 7 or 8.
Yeah,
people that are getting voted out because when they're bringing them over, they're still in the game. But by the time they get there, they're no longer there.
Yeah, you're probably bringing like the top 8, top 9 because it's like 1 day rounds.
That makes sense. So back at the sanctuary, Liz is very happy. Charlie said, not choosing Maria was going to suck. They had that agreement, but he says, they're still like Malcolm and Denise. They're going to be friends forever outside of this game. And he doesn't think that this is going to break their bond in any way.
There's no way Maria would ever even consider turning on me, Matt. There's no way. Yeah. Did you know, Dan, that there was no possible way that Maria would ever turn on Charlie?
We're like 7 episodes since there's been a good read. I love it.
Well, I love it because this is the beauty of editing. We see like this sanctuary talk of Charlie saying, "Oh, we gotta vote out Maria," and we're talking about this and that, and then we go back to the other camp, the losers. Maria is crying in the shelter, really bummed out because she wishes she could have her letters from home. But we learn at this point that, look, she has a confessional where she says, we had this agreement, blah, 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 blah. And this is kind of the battle of Maria saying she's going to vote out Charlie and Charlie saying he's going to vote out Maria. And I think now that this is kind of established, and after tonight's episode where Maria has totally screwed up and wrote down Charlie's name, I feel that's going to start causing some sort of conflict there.
Good. But also, we need to roll back the tape a little bit because we once again we don't get the family visit, Matt.
Yes.
We still get the awkwardness of Jeff whenever family is involved. Because when they send the people to the sanctuary where good things happen, trademark, he goes to Maria and be like, as a mother, how is it that you don't get to talk to your kids? Because you created those people. I'm like, Jeff.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I know.
Like, what the fuck are you like? It's one of those things where it's like, I always just remember, I don't remember the season, but I just remember him trying to have someone explain what a hug is when they hug their loved ones. Like, what was that you just did where you put your arms over that person? I'm like,
it's a hug, dude.
Are you a human?
Yeah,
Jeff. Like, is the Botox getting to you? Like, I don't know. Like, it was just so bizarre to me. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, Maria, you're crying too much. And then I had to write down in my notes, you know what? It's because I don't know what it's like to create people out of me. So, maybe I should walk in her shoes.
Don't tell Terry Dietz that. He'll explain it to you.
Only on a reward.
Only on a reward.
So the letters.
That's my last callback from a past season. I'm done now.
I love it. So these letters from home, we do see emotion in these people. Kenzie is like on cloud 9, like forever grateful to Charlie for picking her. Liz as a super fan, knowing that her daughter is going to be able to watch this moment on TV. and seeing how this all plays out. I love it. I think she's very deserving to be here and at this reward. And Charlie, he makes a comment how all his family and friends said, "Look, if you play this game, go out there and play to win." And that is why I'm a big Charlie fan.
Yeah, play to win, but that's the thing with this season though. It's like I feel like there's a misread from us watching at home or a misread by them or both. I'm like, there's a difference between playing to win and just playing to make the moves. And I still feel at this point in time for both of them that voting for the other person is more playing to make the move rather than playing to make it to the end and have a chance to win. Because if you stay tight here and you just vote out Q, you blindside Q, but you're still solid with each other, you're now guaranteed, very likely that you're going to Final Four and at least have fire making as an opportunity to go. Because you're a tight two. Ben will still rock with Charlie, which I'm glad that this episode finally cemented down that Ben's with Charlie. It's been said throughout the season, but everyone's like, no, Ben's with Maria. I'm like, no, he's with Charlie and with Kenzie. It's like you have these options still. As like Charlie loves to talk about his options. I'm like, that's the move, is still staying tight with her and trying to cut her at 5. And you take the calculated risk that immunity can get in the way. You have to, because I'd rather have the more sure path of getting to the end than, oh, look at me, I took out my number one, then looks around. Like, when you're already having these fears of these people turning around on you after making a move, then it's not the right move.
But see, then I would argue there that I think Charlie got saved by the fact that Maria won immunity.
Oh, he has been saved 2 weeks in a row.
He was going to make that move, and say it does go down like that. Charlie or pick someone else wins immunity. Maria does go home tonight. I think it's very likely that they turn around and vote Charlie out next week saying, well, he's the next biggest threat. We got to get rid of him.
Well, it's like, I still feel like that's going to be the outcome. But a little spoiler for the end of this podcast, but that's ultimately why I feel Kenzie's the person that will win, because sure, she has made mistakes, but the mistakes have come at better times. And big part of Survivor, Matt, I would think you would agree to me, is it's luck. When the down parts go down and you're still able to be in the game and you have this other amount of time to rise back up. She gets blindsided at the Tiffany vote. What's that? 2 rounds ago now, 3 after this episode. It's like Tiffany goes and you hit your low point, but you hit your low point at Final 7.
Yeah.
And now you get to recreate those bonds, recreate those connections, and now you're in a spot where you can have a pathway to Final 4. What?
How dare you? Kenzie has never made a mistake. She's perfect. Back off.
Hey, the most perfect people acknowledge the mistakes that they make.
But yeah, Kenzie canceled her wedding or rearranged her wedding date to be able to play, and now Kenzie is pregnant, as we've seen on social media. So, could this be a big master plan for her to win the $1 million?
A sole survivor baby.
Yeah, but I like it. I like here how we see her talking about how it's so nice to be away from her salon. We learn that she's a businesswoman who's been kind of working since she was a teenager, and to be able to finally be out on Survivor, to trust people in her normal life to kind of run things while she's gone is a big time thing for Kenzie. And I like that.
And she also connects it to her game here, where sure, in the beginning of the game, she had a lot more control on her tribe. But really, if we look at the grand scheme of things, I think she had awareness of this. Tiffany and Q were in charge. They were the bigger power because they were 2 people. Kenzie, and I think it's that's your Survivor winner quote, and people will be upset and people will be like, well, that's boring. That's a boring winner, mid, bad winner, whatever. I'm like, but I think it's one of the best qualities in a player when they don't need to have control.
Mhm.
Like, I don't need to be the person out in front. Like, all the people that we've seen in this season that needed that attention, needed to be out in front, needed to get the accolades of a move, that
Mhm.
actually got to do it. Because obviously Kenzie at one point in time wanted that with the blindsiding Tiffany.
Yeah.
She was gifted there by being blindsided, like you said, Dan. All those people go home. All those people are now putting themselves in a spot where like they need to win out or they go home. It's like being able to be hands off and let other people take charge isn't a bad strategy. Hell, Michelle did that in Co Wrong. Like, and she's looked at very fondly by the Survivor community, especially in hindsight. So
not at the time, but
not
a few
at
years
the
later,
time,
we got
but
there.
people realized Aubrey wasn't as good of a player as people claimed, and there you go.
Third time will do that to you.
Oh, I love it. So we see now back at the camp with the losers, Q and Maria are looking for the idol. Q has funny confessionals here. He's like talking how he's like looked everywhere. It's crazy. It's way harder than it seems
My
when you
hand's
look at it on
getting so
TV.
tired.
Yeah, and he finally finds it, and he says, "Behold," which is one of my favorite things to say. Behold, Q finds the idol, and he tells Maria about the idol. Good move or bad move?
In theory, a good move if you're in Q's shoes, where I feel like he still feels this need to try to like wedge himself between Maria and Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've seen with Maria all this season, I feel like she really takes things for the most part at face value.
Yes.
Where she's like, oh, I want the option that gives me more protection. This option now gives me more protection.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Charlie now is someone that's a threat to win at the end. I don't see Q as a threat to win at the end, and he now has an idol and thinks that he will use it on me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a bad joke in there that it was a good move for Q simply because he's a dude. If Q was a woman, Maria would take him out immediately, but because he's a guy, perfectly
I mean,
safe.
she did originally want to target Liz.
She did. Well, now we're getting to the immunity challenge where swim out to a platform, climb up, jump off. You don't have to smash anything. You just straight up jump off the platform, walk across some like net thing, which looks super easy. Then there's a balance beam, and then finally a dolphin puzzle. So I'm liking these new puzzles.
Can I make it one complaint though? And it's
Sure.
not about the challenge. It's more about the contestants. We've seen it for years, but it really stuck out to me for some reason tonight that if you're out there, just because you put your hands over your head before you jump in the water does not mean that you're diving. Like there's more to it to diving.
Huge diving is terrible. Yes.
It wasn't just him. It was almost all of them would just throw their hands up and
belly flopping.
It's just how we are taught. Okay, we're taught if you're jumping into the water, put your hands up.
Do you think Ozzy is going to belly flop like that and look like a fool?
No.
Game Changers version, yes.
But yeah, I wrote Q's dives are terrible. Liz Wilcox makes a comment like she says Liz Wilcox is in the game.
She gets the first of her pieces in. It's like Liz Wilcox in the game.
I know. I love it. This is where I have like I actually like her.
Yeah, so my issue also is I understand that they make them climb the tower just because they want them to exert energy before, or like more energy before reaching the balance beam.
Yes.
Would it be that hard to have something hit where like there's a puzzle piece hanging up there and you have to like jump and grab? Like, and even if it's something that's just easy where like even if you just like hit it, it would pop off.
Yeah.
Just be go up, grab it, and you have to carry that bag with you for the other two tasks. Like, because in my opinion, it did nothing to me. Like, it does nothing to me watching it. I don't see the point outside of, oh, we need this action shot of them jumping off a platform. Like, but
just there's nothing There's stakes up for
no,
grabs
there's no
there.
stakes to it. And if we already know that it's all going to end at the puzzle, then just honestly, I could have been fine with them just starting with the balance beam. Cut the first 2 parts, start at the balance beam, swim to
balance
it.
beam and puzzle.
Yeah, like the balance beam is hard enough. Like it's hard enough for half of these people when it's on land.
Yeah.
So
I know. Well,
I'm saving the money.
Maria ends up killing it. 3rd immunity win. She's a boss. And we learn that, she's fueled by the fact, look, I could sit there and weep and cry about not going on the sanctuary deal. She did.
A lot.
But yeah, she kind of used that to fuel her rage to win. So yeah, she's killing it.
You know what my issue is with that statement though, because she then reuses it at tribal council. And it's more so of like, because she, I think, already is in the disadvantage of just historically among Survivor. Moms have a hard time if they get the final tribal council. The other part of this that makes it harder for me is it comes off very politician to me. Like, it doesn't feel like I know what she's saying to her is genuine, but when I'm hearing her say these things, I'm like, this just comes off to me so disgenuine.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, if only I had gotten my love letters. And even if I did, like, I just would have won based off determination. And I'm like, no, just say you balled out.
Yeah.
I wanted to win.
Yeah. It seemed a lot like she gave that, similar line in confessional, and the producers acted very positive and well to it. And so in her mind, she's just like, I got to make sure I say this in front of the jury as well.
Yeah, but like she should be reading what the jury's reacting, because what they reacted negatively when she was talking about the reward challenge last week. So you may want to be a little more observant there.
Well, after the challenge, it's back at camp. Kenzie wants Q out, and then we see Ben and Charlie talking about Q. Ben wants to do this epic blind side. But look, Q is talking with Maria about voting Charlie. So this is obviously Maria has immunity. Q has an idol, but the chatter is Charlie, who we know, Maria is willing to turn on, or Q, which Kenzie and Liz are really trying to kind of spearhead and pitch this whole deal for Q to go. This is again where I blame Maria for making Q seem confident in the fact that he doesn't have to play his idol.
And part of that is herself being confident. And it's not a new concept. We've seen it in Survivor all the time. When you start getting these immunity streaks and you've been the power player,
yes,
there's a little bit of like confirmation bias as you keep going forward in the game. It's like, okay, I want immunity. I did a very big move and it worked. Everyone did what they said they would do.
Yeah.
I then win immunity again. I want another move to happen and I got my way again. So I feel like you start looking at the other players in the game through like rose-colored glasses because you're on this like adrenaline high of everything is going my way. I'm winning all the immunities. I'm getting all the big moves. I'm the one who's taking ownership of it. So when I'm hearing these people tell me they're doing this, but then I hear Charlie tell me, oh no, they're voting Q today. I don't believe them. They're obviously just playing Charlie because I've had control of this entire post-merge game. So it's going to be Charlie again. They're obviously telling me the truth. And I think that's only why she then feels confident when going to Q about it, which is why I want to give more credit to Liz and Kenzie for playing her well and letting her feel like she was still the driver of the game. And it pays off for them.
I think it's going to end up being one of her biggest detriments because if you're Maria, like you have to look at it from Liz and Kenzie's perspective, and the fact that they didn't pitch any that we saw anyway. They didn't pitch any other names, and they're just okay with continuing to let you drive vote after vote. Like there has to be going something internally thinking this isn't quite right. Maybe I should get their opinion first before pitching out a name and then see if I can convince them to ultimately come to the decision I'd make. I think Maria just had too many blind spots here, where I do agree that Liz and Kenzie do play it very well here, but I think ultimately it's a big blunder all the way around on Maria.
Yeah. Well, yeah, ultimately it's a blunder on Maria, and like I don't want this to just be me bashing Maria, because I've been a little hard on her these few weeks. I've liked the dynamic nature of her. Like she's had highs and lows, and which to me makes a fleshed out player. So like it's not one dimensional. We have the hubris, but we also have the emotion and the empathy of her. Like I love the semi like hopeful / delusion of her going to tribal council, where she's like, well, I hope after I blindside Charlie, we've been thick as thieves this whole game, but I hope he gives me a hug. I'm like, oh, I ain't hugging you if you betray me right at the final of the, even though like it would be hypocritical, because they're both looking at it, because in theory, both of them are wrong. Both of them shouldn't be targeting each other, but they're right because they are targeting each other.
I find it interesting. Going into this tribal council, we start where it's like Jeff's talking about the reward challenge. Charlie is talking about the whole letters from home deal, and just how awesome it was. But then we hear from the people that did not get the letters, and to hear it from, there's two different perspectives. I think everyone kind of this season, this group of 6 people that is here are empathetic and just kind of like, it's all good. And even though Maria, I feel, was bummed that she didn't get her letters from her children, I really feel that at the end of the day, that her pact that she had with Charlie was a legit pact to some degree. But yeah, this tribal, we did not see Jeff Probst bring out the popcorn, even though he makes a reference to the popcorn at the very beginning. I'm over the popcorn references.
Well, they're making wacky comments on the way into tribal, which is something you rarely don't see.
Yeah. Ben's saying, "Oh, you're going to get a show tonight," or whatever. Ben's acting like it's going to be this big to do. Very, very interesting the way they're doing this year.
I also feel like this is really showing that the jury is just easily impressed by anything. Because in theory, without knowing that Q has the idol, it's like, is it really this wow moment of blindsiding the person who's been the target, that's quote unquote target for 4 rounds? It's like, Charlie is the move where, like, if it happened, everyone would be like,
oh yeah. Charlie's been on Q has been on the chopping block for a long time. So yeah, if Charlie would have went home, it would have been like, I would have liked to have seen Q play his idol just to kind of switch things up.
He got greedy.
But Jeff, we see him talking about blind sides again. And Charlie says, look, if you tell the wrong person a plan, your game can be flipped. And then this is where Jeff brings up alliances. That's what we kind of talked about earlier. Can alliances get you to the end, or are these new players just kind of switching from one thing to the next? Q, I find it's sad to see him go, but I do feel like he had no chance of winning the game anyways. He was going to go sooner or later. So tonight's just as good as any night for
I think this is the right spot for him to go. I don't feel like I needed to see a Q boot on the finale. I also found that weird at the end of the episode, or end of the immunity challenge, where Jeff goes like, you like have guaranteed your spot on finale night. And I'm like, my answer wouldn't have been anything about the family visit or anything. I would have just like been like, look, I don't give a shit about finale night. That doesn't mean I'm in the final 3 seats.
Yeah, right.
That's
some people play for the
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like Johnny's mentioned this before. Some people now are just playing for the sea money, or maybe they're playing, oh, I just want to get to be in the final episode. Like I'm not playing to win or something like that, right? But I do feel there are some odd situations, but overall, another entertaining episode. Q, I dug you. I think that you're going to get a call to go back and play because your game was just so interesting.
Who knows?
And,
maybe Australia will be calling in.
I mean, and speaking of that, Australia versus the United States Survivor is speculating that that's going to happen.
Speculated.
And people are really excited on the internet about it. So we talk about these kind of things on our Q&A that we do each and every week. It's realitypatron.com. It's the best way to support the podcast. We do a weekly Q&A, and where you, the fans, get to ask Johnny and I and whoever's on the podcast that week any question that you want. You're part of a secret Facebook group. It's a really cool community. So we'll be talking about, this, who our speculations are going to be of potential cast for Australia versus the US, which I'm all for. I cannot wait. But I cannot wait for the finale either. Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, Matt, is that a season we're actually going to be able to get you to watch it live?
Most likely, if I could watch it on like Paramount Plus or something, dude, I would. I don't want to watch it on my phone. Yeah, I know you guys have the links, but yeah, If Americans, if US versus Australia is happening live, I'm totally down with watching it and podcasting about it.
Well, our people will talk with your people.
Oh, there you go. Well,
but before we finish,
yes.
I said it halfway through the podcast. We're gonna do it right here because Matt, you won't be here next week for the finale. At least for the right after the episode, you will still have an episode later next week to discuss your thoughts on the finale. But it'll just be Dan and I rocking it for finale night. But with that, I want us to put our 10 toes down right now. Let's figure out what are these placements for the finale of Survivor 46. Who's getting 5th place?
Maria.
So Maria took the shot at Charlie. If Maria loses, Charlie's taking his hit on Maria. And then I think that at that point, Charlie goes home after Maria, and you literally have a Liz, Kenzie, and Ben, and I feel like Liz goes home. Or no, it's the final 3. So I feel like Kenzie wins in a Liz, Ben, Kenzie final 3 scenario.
I assume you think the same thing, Dan.
Yeah, I think somewhere Liz gets a vote to finish second. I think Ben finishes 0 vote finalist. So I think it goes, if you're going placements 1 through 5, it's Kenzie, winner pick all season. Let's continue to rock it out. Then Liz, Ben, Charlie, Maria.
Okay. So Maria and Charlie are interchangeable for me. I have them at 5 and 4. I think ultimately we see Kenzie win fire making against the other, whichever of those 2 survive, to send the other into the jury. Then we have Kenzie as our sole survivor. Liz is our 0 vote finalist. And Ben gets at least Charlie's vote.
Yeah.
So there we go. We're all riding. We're putting all of our chips on this Kenzie train. And if we're wrong, hey, we've been wrong plenty of times before. It won't be the first time. It won't be the last.
Yeah, but I hate to see you go, Q. I'm sure you'll be called back for a future season. And if you are anywhere near the Los Angeles, California area next week for the finale, join Johnny Fairplay at Jax's in Studio City, Jax's Bar. Jax Taylor himself will be there from Vanderpump Rules and House of Villains, and other local survivors. And there's so many people live in LA on these reality shows, so you never know who's going to be at the live viewing parties. And next week, tune in, same network, the Reality After Show for the Survivor 46 finale. And listen, be sure if you are watching The GOAT, which our man Wendell is on there. Wendell is doing a podcast on The GOAT on the Reality After Show network. And there's many other shows that are in the works that are going to be coming out on the network. And if you want to hear rumors and innuendos and behind the scenes, that is what we talk about on the Q&A in our Patreon. So Alex, Dan, always a pleasure. You guys are the experts. I just you
just played the damn game.
I just played the damn game, you know. So, but we love you all, and we will see you next week to find out who wins Survivor 46 in the ultimate conclusion. So, cheers, everyone. We'll see you next week. Good night.